In 2020, ArtsFairfax and Fairfax County created the Poet Laureate program, honoring a local poet with a 2-year term spent enriching everyday life in the community through poetry. With us to talk about the Poet Laureate program and read her inaugural poem is Danielle Badra, our second and newest Poet Laureate. Danielle, welcome to County Magazine.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Good. First question that I have for you is, what is daily life like for a poet? Can you describe your creative process?
Yeah, I mean, daily life is complicated and challenging as it is for everyone, right? But the purpose of the poet, I think, is to kind of break down that challenge and try to find beauty in it and highlight that beauty amongst the mess that we all live in. So that's, I'd say, what life is like for a poet, trying to find the beauty in the hard stuff. And then my creative process, I like to go for nature walks in the local county or national park trails. And when I get home from those walks, I tend to turn on some piano music and tune out everything else and just focus on whatever I want to write about that day.
So what are the roles and responsibilities of the Fairfax County Poet Laureate?
Absolutely. So part of the Poet Laureate application process was coming up with a community service project that I would run for 2 years during my tenure as Poet Laureate. And the community service project I came up with is called Poetry in the Parks. So for my tenure, I will be having poetry readings, poetry workshops, and establishing poetry resources in the county parks for residents to come and enjoy. And the main purpose of the Poet Laureate is to try to get the community to engage with poetry.
Well, to that end, how can residents get involved with your Poetry in the Parks initiative?
That's a great question. So our first poetry reading is coming up on Saturday, April 15th at 3 p.m. at Eleanor C. Lawrence Park. And it's going to be in honor of Arab American Heritage Month and also National Poetry Month. And Zaina Azam, who is Alexandria's Poet Laureate, will be reading along with myself and a local high school senior and upcoming talent, Rihanna Fief. So the three of us will be reading together for this event, this initial kickoff event. So everybody please come out to that. Afterwards, there's going to be a workshop on the Ghazal poetry form. And then our next reading is during Pride Month, and there's going to be some local LGBTQIA plus writers who come out and read for that. Kim Roberts, Holly Mason, Malik Thompson, and Sunu Chandi will all be out for that reading, and we'd love for people to come to that. That's Saturday, June 24th at 3 p.m. at Eleanor C. Lawrence Park. And another program we have, which the community can really come out and learn a lot from this event, is Poetry Beneath the Stars. It's a poetry workshop where people will come out to Turner Farm Park. It's Saturday, August 19th from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. And we will look at the stars, we will read poetry about the cosmos, and I will provide prompts to people to write in response to what they see and, contemplating life and our purpose amongst the cosmos, So I think that'll be a really exciting event.
Wow, that's a fantastic slate of events you have going on.
Yeah.
I was curious, how do you see poetry enriching the lives of everyday residents, everyday citizens? I mean, there are people who are poetry fans and, literary fans, but how do you see poetry enriching the lives of everyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think it brings meaning, deeper meaning to our lives, especially in times of chaos. I know a lot of people were really moved by Amanda Gorman's poem at the inaugural address for Biden, right? And I think a big reason for that is we had just experienced something as a nation that was pretty jarring. And her poem really kind of gave meaning, greater meaning to that event and to that national moment. And that's something that poetry can do. It can bring meaning to things that are really hard to understand.
So tell us about your inaugural poem. I understand you will share that with us today?
Yeah, I will definitely share it with you. The application that I submitted for the Poet Laureate position included a video where I was breaking down Mary Oliver's The Summer Day as if I was teaching it to the community. And so when I wrote my inaugural poem, I decided to use that same poem as a jumping off point. Because what I do with a lot of my poetry is I create conversations, conversations with my deceased sister, or conversations with my wife, conversations with my friends, with poets who I admire. But how I do that is I use lines from my fellow poets or even from a Facebook post, and I'll incorporate those lines into my poem. So in this instance, I used 2 lines from Mary Oliver's poem, which when I read it, I'll tell you which lines those are. And I wove them into this poem, which is really investigating how we in modern times interact with nature and how we tend to not have the time to really slow down and study it in the way that we used to, because everything just moves so quickly now. So that's really what the poem investigates.
Oh, I'm anxious to hear it.
Yeah.
Will you share it with us?
Sure, I would love to. I am not very good at memorizing my poems, so I will be reading mine today. This is One Wild and Precious Life, which is a line from Mary Oliver's poem. And the 2 lines that I've incorporated into the poem from hers is the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand. So those are lines from Mary Oliver's The Summer Day.
Okay.
And this is the poem. One wild and precious life. The one who forgot or has not yet learned how to fly, who has been standing for hours on one leg, waiting for a snake to be flung or to fling into the air just to watch it smash against the rocks. Herself out waiting for a feast to find her waiting patiently, or wings clipped by turtles of the river, where she finds herself hungry for whatever is slow enough to be stalked. Like grass hides great cats on the savannah, the heron hides in her own shadow as the sun sinks in the sky. The one who startled easily and swiftly took to the sky, who is known by the S her body makes when pressed against the overcast, like eating a snake made her serpentine. If only that were the case for all of us shape-shifters who shake sugar out of shakers to sweeten our morning brew before we become too busy to watch the river rocks of my neighborhood nature trail covered in sunbathing turtles, or we become too apprehensive among tall grass to be handed a grasshopper with enough patience to stand still on 2 legs for several seconds and study it before it recalls how to fly.
That is beautiful. Okay, I'm already claiming that piece of paper to take with me, if you don't mind.
Oh,
because
sure.
I want to read that again myself.
Yeah, you can have it. Yeah.
And absorb that more.
Yeah.
But it's lovely hearing the poet actually recite their poetry, and we thank you very much for being here on County Magazine.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.